We all settled? Perfect. I know we've got some people grabbing some food, but I'd like to start. So welcome, and thank you for joining us this evening. I am Andrea DeLucia, the Director of Development for the Franciscan School of Theology. I'd like to first recognize our regents here tonight with us. We have Mary Lyons, we have Chris Holbert, Bob Crawford, and Father Mike Sinor. We also have, yep, I said Mary Lyons. Did you not hear me? We also have a few professors with us, Sister Juliette Mousseau, Father Joe Kenichi, Doctors Maureen Day, Jeff Burns, John and Florence Gilman, and Angela Zautke. You'll also see some seminarians and Franciscan seminarians and students wandering the crowd as well. So to get started, I'd like to introduce Maureen King. She's going to share with us the mission and a brief overview of the beautiful Mingei International Museum. Maureen King is a previous chairman of the Museum Trustees Association of North America and is the current chairman of the Board of Trustees of Mingei International Museum. She has also served in other roles at the museum, such as the vice chairman and chair of the nominating governance and development committees, as well as chairing the search and the transition committees when the museum was moved from the leadership of its founding director to its current director. She was a former director of development from 1983 to 86, and then again in 97 to 2002. She served as a consultant for the museum's $8.6 million capital campaign, right? Which provided building and endowment funds for the move to Balboa Park, and recently completed her co-chairmanship with a $55 million capital campaign to renovate and reimagine this physical space we are in today. So Maureen serves on the board of Scripps Mercy Hospital Foundation, Biomed, Institute for Advanced Catholic Studies, and the Kramer Endowment Foundation, which supports the St. Madeleine Sophie Center for Mentally Disabled Adults. And that's just to name a few. She serves as a consultant for numerous nonprofits, and she graduated cum laude from the University of San Diego. I introduce you to Maureen King.
Thank you so much, Andrew. A little bit about Mingei. We are a museum of folk art, craft, and design. The word Mingei actually means art of the people. So we are for all people. And our objects, what we collect, and what we exhibit are made for everyday use. They may be used in a kitchen, in a workshop, in a field, or they may be used for ceremonial purposes. So you'll find that most things you see aren't really here to be shown in a museum. They were created originally by a craftsman or an artisan to be used. We're a museum. We can't just use a regular podium. This is actually a music stand, and it was designed by a craftsman, George Nakashima, who was an American furniture maker, now passed away, but his studio is still run in New Hope, Pennsylvania, by his daughter, Mira. And this is really everything. It's folk art, made to be used. George Nakashima was a craftsman, and this is also an example of perfect architectural design. So you have it all right here. Take a good look at it before you leave. And as you explore the galleries when the program is over, you'll see lots of Nakashima in this museum. There's a bench over there. There are tables, desks, chairs upstairs. Enjoy yourself, because I'm really pleased to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maureen. That was a special presentation that not many people get. I would like to take a moment to share a few values that I gravitated toward early on when joining FST, and that was about 3 years ago. One of the first terms I heard was haietas, thisness. It means that all people, all creation, and things have a uniqueness only known to them. So we are truly one of a kind and will never be replicated. The second term was being an other-centered person, being a person that meets the needs of where that individual is. It's being giving of yourself for those not just on the margins of society, but those poor in spirit and potentially poor in health. I first encountered this when I visited one of the Franciscan ministries where some of our alums work, the St. Anthony's Foundation, a social services agency serving those in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. It was a profound moment for me. It truly was. I watched a friar lean down so closely, listened so intently, and grabbed that individual's hand that was in need. A third quality that the Franciscan mission that I gravitated towards early on was community building. I think they do this very, very well. You know, everyone goes to college. You've got your sorority and your community there. But as an adult, I've never felt a part of a community before until I joined the Franciscan School of Theology. Lastly, I had the privilege last year at this time to go to Assisi. And there's many moments that I could share. But one that I think of very often is the night that we walked in the foot of St. Clare's footsteps. It was the night that she decided to leave her family behind and join St. Francis and the other friars. So in the pitch dark, we're walking through Assisi in the old Assisi, and we stop and listen to reflect on the story told before us. And we were trying to imagine what St. Clare may have been feeling or experiencing. Well, as we reached the gate to leave the old city, we imagined this gate closing behind us with such a strong sound boom. And we stopped and we looked at each other and we said, what did she feel? Was it sadness, joy, fear? Or perhaps it was all of them. So maybe the answer is found in the theology FST teaches today, Scripture. I introduce you to President Father Garrett Galpin.
It's wonderful being here with you this evening. I've been president now for about 4.5 years. And before I was president, I was dean of the school for about 4 years. And our accreditors will always tell you that the toughest job in any theology school is the job of dean. So I had that. And then when I transitioned to president, I have to do exit interviews with all the students. So I was kind of a little bit wary of these exit interviews because I'd kind of been with those students. Like, you don't see the dean to celebrate good things. You see the dean when there's some issues. So I was a little bit wary of these exit interviews. And it was just totally misplaced, my wariness, because when I spoke to our students, I discovered, that they had a sense of journey, and that in their journey as students, there would be times when they'd be going downhill nice and easy, but then there'd be times where they'd have to go uphill and have some struggles. But they were mature, and by the time they got to the end of the process, they really didn't want to reflect on the reasons I may have seen them when I was dean. They wanted to reflect on the good things that happened at FST. They wanted to think a little bit about what their futures would look like. And so this was, for me, a great endorsement of the school and of the process, of all our different professors, of how people gravitate to a certain professor or a certain staff member. And so when I think about that, I really kind of focus on journey and just how important journey is for us as Christians and Catholics and Franciscans. And journey is rooted in the Bible. In the Old Testament, in the book of Exodus, we see Israel on a journey with Moses. In the Gospel of Luke, we see the disciples on a journey with Jesus to Jerusalem. Both of these journeys had high points and low points, but we're able to look back on them and see the meaning of journey. As I look at the Franciscan School of Theology, I also think a good bit about journey, because we've been on a journey really for about the last 55 years. Historically, our predecessor was the Apostolic College in Mission Santa Barbara that was founded in 1854. And it focused, for basically the last 100 years, it was there on training Franciscans and only Franciscans. But with Vatican II, we heard the call to kind of look at our charism more carefully, to engage in the world more deeply. And so we moved from Santa Barbara to Berkeley. And so we were in Berkeley with the Jesuits and the Dominicans. And that was a wonderful experience being up there. I was educated there and taught there. But what we could see was, august institutions like the Weston School of Theology in Cambridge, right next to Harvard, left Cambridge and moved and joined Boston College. You could see the Jesuit School of Theology in Berkeley joining Santa Clara University. And so we could see the same need, that higher education had changed fundamentally, and we had to do something fundamentally different. And so it was wonderful that we were able to sign an affiliation agreement with the University of San Diego in 2012, and we began a new journey. And there was kind of a building boom going on the campus. When we first moved to San Diego, there was all kinds of wonderful things happening there, but a lot of construction and not a lot of room. So we first moved to Mission San Luis Rey, and we were there until 2019. President Harris kept on asking us, why aren't you here on campus? And so Cardinal McElroy heard that, and he gave us some room to move into the middle of campus on a little island of diocesan property. And then last year, we moved into the Coronado building on campus and have kind of really solidified our relationship with the University of San Diego, that we're so happy to be there. And that relationship has led to a lot of success for us. Just last night, I was having dinner with a couple, and an older couple, and they were lamenting a little bit. And, they brought up 3 children, and, none of the children were going to church anymore. And they kind of said to me, well, what can we do about that? And I said, well, these are difficult things, but we're all trying to do things. And the thing that I think is most innovative at the Franciscan School of Theology is that about 2.5 years ago, we initiated a completely online degree. So we now have 4 degrees at the Franciscan School of Theology, but we created one of those degrees with enormous assistance from the University of San Diego. And we work with the program of continuing education very closely, professional and continuing education. And this has really helped us. And now this is our largest degree. So we have 18 students entering that program this week. And so that's been very important for us. And I think that to me is a little bit of an answer to the couple, that we're trying to meet students where they are. The church changes, people change. We're obviously all using the internet, and the church has to be on the internet, and our school has to be on the internet. So that for me has been, a source of great assistance that the university offers us and a way that we're reaching out. Another thing I think that's very important about FST that you got a little bit of a glimpse in that video is the kind of international character of FST. So We regularly have professors, as you heard in the video, coming from Rome and Germany to teach. Our newest professor, Father Francis Lee, came to us from South Korea. He did his doctorate here in the United States, went back to South Korea, served in Rome for a while, but really wanted to come to FST. So we have a Korean professor. We have a number of students that are here from Vietnam. We have a student that will be coming from Mexico in the fall. And then we have a sister that's from Africa that's studying with us. So there's a strong international character to FST. We've as Franciscans, we're always kind of rooted in Assisi, rooted in St. Francis. But St. Francis was someone who was always reaching out, always dealing with other cultures. I think another kind of important aspect of, being international is being rooted very much here in San Diego. And this is something that we've been really able to develop. It was a little tricky there in 2020 and 2021 as we were all kind of got our wings clipped by COVID. But since we've been able to really get out, we're now, I think, also desiring and really succeeding in being rooted here in the community of San Diego. Our largest traditional program is the Masters of Divinity. We train our seminarians in that program, along with lots of lay people. And they gain the pastoral skills to work in church work. And as part of that, all the students have to spend 2 years working in various either churches, social service agencies, hospitals, hospices, doing volunteer work. So even as students, I think there's great contributions to the local community. We were lucky enough last year to have 3 of our students ordained priests, and we'll have a 4th student ordained a priest next month. They're obviously playing great roles now in the diocese. And so being rooted here in the diocese has just kind of helped us enormously. We get to work closely with a number of parishes. So St. Bridget's, we've been doing lots of activities. We're going to have our 2nd lecture series there this summer. Over at Sacred Heart and on Coronado, we're doing a lot of things there. The friars, myself included, are at Immaculate Conception in Old Town. We have events there. And then we're always doing a lot of things up in North County at Old Mission San Luis Rey. And so this has given us now a stronger and stronger connection to the local, which is so important for us. We have that international dimension, but we are sinking our roots here in San Diego and finding great help with us and great support from the local church and from many others. I think this is kind of all part of what we like to talk about, and I think we have it up there, our Franciscan difference. And so how do we do things a little bit differently as Franciscans? As Franciscans, we really, and have always been, very much attached to the church. And we have very much, I think, taken up, a vision that Cardinal McElroy has emphasized, and we're kind of part of that. When Cardinal McElroy decided to send the students here, the seminarians here, he was very clear that he wanted an incarnational theology taught to them. And incarnation is a word that we hear again and again in the liturgy. It means word made flesh. If anyone likes carne asada, you can hear that CAR in there. That's the flesh. And as Franciscans, we are very incarnational. And what that means is that we remember in the very first book of the Bible, the first chapter of Genesis, we hear that we are made in the image and likeness of God. We always have to be kind of mindful of that. Whenever we're looking at another human being, we're looking at a brother or sister in Christ. And we keep on teaching from that perspective. How can we see the gift of humanity before us? How can we reach out to where humans have been neglected or overlooked? And this, I think, is the Franciscan difference. We see it in our ministries, we see it in our school, and to me, I see it very clearly in our students and our alumni. And so we kind of gravitate to that special aspect of humanity, always recognizing it made in the image and likeness of God. And this is all possible because of philanthropy. And for many years now, we've received great support. Initially in the Bay Area, we had a lot of support. And one of our regents, Bob Crawford, is here from Scottsdale, another place where we've received great support from our Franciscan center there, the Franciscan Renewal Center. And more, we're getting great support here in San Diego. So I want to thank all of you for the support. We receive that support in so many ways. We receive it through prayer, and we always are in need of prayer. We receive that support through ministering with each other, and we also receive that support financially from the many people who've helped us. So I ask you to kind of be part of that Franciscan difference, to support us as we continue educating our seminarians for the diocese, the lay people that come to us on campus for 3 different degrees, and now the many people that are with us in cyberspace in 44 states and throughout the world. We have students graduating from us. So I want to thank you for all your support of that. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce one of our seminarians. And Tony, it's great to have you here with us. And so I introduce you to Tony Jimenez.
Thank you, Father Garrett. And good evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name's Anthony Jimenez, and I'm a seminarian for the Diocese of San Diego. And I'm currently finishing my 3rd year at the Franciscan School of Theologies and working on my Master's of Divinity program. This year, I'm actually in what's called a pastoral year, which means I'm currently living at a parish here in San Diego and engaging in full-time ministry there, while also continuing my studies at FST. I mention this because this year has really given me an opportunity to put the knowledge and the skills that I've learned at FST into practice. First and foremost, FST has taught me how to integrate a ministry that focuses on accompanying others, whether they're individuals, families, married couples, engaged couples, young, elderly, those who are experiencing loss, those who are ill. FST has taught me to listen to the stories that others are bringing to their faith, to help them uncover what these stories mean for them and their relationship with God. And especially as someone in ministry on my pastoral year, to recognize how the Spirit of God is at work in their lives and accompany them as they grow in that awareness themselves. I remember just a few years ago, when I first started at FST, I took a class called Accompanying Families, taught by Dr. Maureen Day. And in that class, we both read and studied Pope Francis's apostolic exhortation, Amoris Laetitia, or the joy of love, which addresses and focuses on pastoral care of families and married couples. And I remember in particular being very much encouraged by Dr. Day to research and present on the Church's current response to couples who are seeking the sacrament of marriage. And in a particular way, to address the ways the Church can be more welcoming to them. As a result of the class, I learned that accompanying couples, accompanying families, accompanying anyone really, involves growing in awareness of the way God's grace is already at work in the lives of people, even, and maybe even especially in the midst of complex situations and circumstances. Fast forward to this year, my pastoral year has given me an opportunity to put what I've learned into practice through real experiences. And in a particular way, one of the experiences I've had on pastoral year has been the opportunity to facilitate what's called a focus inventory with couples, which is a tool to help couples with communication as they journey closer to the sacrament of marriage. I think what I love the most about experiences like this is that I'm being invited into the lives of real people. And especially with couples, people who love each other deeply and continue to grow deeper into the mystery of what love means in their faith. And as someone in formation to be a priest, it very much affirmed my own calling, my own journey to encounter others and help others grow closer to God's love. In all of our classes, we always learn some aspect of the Franciscan tradition. And I think one of the things that has struck me the most about St. Francis that I've learned so far at FST is that contrary to being the idealistic, perfect saint with the bird on his finger, like the statue on the bird bath, I know we've all seen them, we may even have them. He was a human person with faults and weaknesses, but who nonetheless responded to God's presence in the world with courage. He was someone who sought out and placed himself in situations where he could actually bring peace and be a sign of God's peace to others. He saw hope in the world. And when I think of the vision of the world that informs my own ministry as a result of my time at FST, it's really a vision that is optimistic. It's hope-filled. And it sees Christ's central presence within it.